Parashat Vayeshev begins with betrayal, jealousy, and deception. The brothers sold Joseph and took his cloth and dipped it in animal blood and gave it to their father, Jacob, to convince him that Joseph has been killed. Jacob saw the coat and declared, "It is my son's robe. A wild beast must have devoured him. Joseph has been torn limb from limb." The Torah tells us that Jacob tore his clothes, put his sackcloth on his loins, and mourned for his son many days. All his sons and daughters tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. Why would he refuse to be comforted? The Midrash explains one can be comforted for someone who was dead, but not someone who is still living. Jacob refused to give up hope that Joseph was still alive. He saw the coat and recognized it as evidence suggesting the death of Joseph, but he refused to believe in it. When his son said, "Haker na," examine the evidence, this can be studied in a legal sense. Jacob, like a judge, was forced to accept it, while privately he still was harboring doubt. He assessed the evidence but remained unconvinced by it. He continued to hope, and that was ultimately justified. Joseph was alive, and the father and son were reunited. Prophet Jeremiah echoes the spirit of hope. A voice is heard in Ramah, mourning and great weeping. Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted. They will return from the land of the enemy. There is hope for your future. Your children will return to their land. To refuse to be comforted is to refuse to give up hope. We do not live by probability. We live by possibility. Hope, and not mere optimism, defines us. It is a belief that together we can make things better, not that things will simply improve on their own. Throughout history, we held this belief of hope. Passing through a synagogue in Tisha B'Av, Napoleon asked about the sounds of lamentation. A soldier explained, "They're lamenting for Jerusalem." And he asked, "How long ago did that happen?" He said, "It was over 1,700 years ago." And Napoleon responded, "A people who can mourn for Jerusalem so long, one day will have it restored." We are that people. Jacob did see Joseph again. Rachel's children did return to the land. Jerusalem was once again a Jewish home. Evidence may suggest otherwise. History may seem to declare irreversible loss. We refuse to be comforted. How improbable is it that a nation so tiny, less than 1% of the world population, would outlive every empire, Egyptian, Syrian, Babylonian, Greek, Roman, and still sing Am Israel Chai, Judaism, the triumph of possibility over probability. Maimonides reminds us that we should see ourselves as if our deeds and those of the world are evenly poised between good and bad, so that the next act may change both the balance of our lives and of the world. Our actions do change the world. When Joseph's brother sought to kill him, Reuben intervened and said, "Let us not kill him, but throw him in a pit." He intended to save him. He intended to save Joseph. As the Torah says, when Reuben heard this, he saved him from them. If only Reuben had known the full consequence of his act, he might have done more. But we cannot read the book of our long-term effects. We act without knowing the ripples of our deeds. A modern example illustrates this beautifully. In 1966, an 11-year-old Stephen Carter moved with his family to a white neighborhood in Washington. Sitting in front of the steps, he watched for signs of welcome, but saw none. Passersby glanced at them, but offered no smiles. Then a woman across the street smiled and said welcome. Minutes later, she returned with drinks, cream cheese and jam sandwiches, making the children feel at home. Stephen reflected that this simple act of kindness changed his life. Not coincidentally, Sarah was a religious Jew. In the Jewish tradition, such act of chesed, kindness rooted in the belief that humans are made in the image of God, carry enduring power. He wrote, "To this day, I can close my eyes and feel the smooth sweetness of the cream cheese and jelly sandwiches. And I discovered how a single act of genuine, unassuming civility can change life forever." Sarah's simple chesed rippled outward. Like Reuben, like Jacob, like Rachel, she acted despite uncertainty. This is how you make a difference. One life at a time, one day at a time, one act at a time. We do not simply accept the world that is. We refuse to be comforted by its imperfection, and instead thrive to make it better through our actions. We're not inconsequential. Each act of goodness brings the world closer to the world that ought to be. When we act, we become God's partners in the work of redemption, bringing light into darkness, hope into despair, life into the world. Shabbat Shalom.